What it do? What it do? You know. Cult leader. Yeah. We speak the truth, but we a cult leader. Yeah. Well, listen, I'm a cult leader. Yeah. Well, listen, I'm a cult leader. Yeah.
It's Kool-Aid, a nigga that sipped the Kool-Aid. That LaFraud, single barrel and goose. Got the coke going up on a Tuesday. Roast the false prophet like a gourmet souffle. Cause me no say spirit gun like you skate. Nigga might run up in that black face like Gucci. Boycott a cracker, kill your favorite rapper. Cause I run with G's like a Green Bay Packer. I chop a Christian like a new machete. When you polygamous, they look at you like R. Kelly. Still these women wanna do me like I'm Akinelli. West Coast sisters love me like a Machiavelli. Make these crackers lick the dust off my boots. We want no cowards in our camp and we ain't taking recruits. My crew the livest, y'all suckers is the jobbers. Niggas run their lips but they damn sure wouldn't try us. Nah, I ain't the same cat who used to break laws. They just rather see me as the same cause. Some rather remain lost. My brain washed with these stained thoughts. I be repping for my niggas riding for the same cause. Cult leader. Yeah. Well, bitch, then I'm a cult leader. Yeah. Better ask somebody, bitch.
Cult leader. Yeah. We speak the truth, but we a cult leader. Yeah. Well, bitch, and I'm a cult leader. Yeah. Well, bitch, and I'm a cult leader. Yeah.
Always sip on my own. Don't need you all in my zone. Spend so much time alone while I'm riding trap on my chrome. Always sip on my own. Don't need you all in my zone. Spend so much time alone while I'm riding trap on my chrome.
Been out of these streets, nigga trying to eat while I duck police. Own family stealing from me. I'm on the phone being to pray, but white Jesus can't save me. Get him away from me. I don't know what to say. So many niggas hating me. Get him away from me.
Always sip on my own. Don't need you all in my zone. Spend so much time alone while I'm riding trap on my chrome. Always sip on my own. Don't need you all in my zone. Spend so much time alone while I'm riding trap on my chrome.
Always sip on my own. Don't need you all in my zone. Spend so much time alone while I'm riding around with my cone. Always sip on my own. Don't need you all in my zone. Spend so much time alone while I'm riding around with my cone. Trying to keep it on the true side, nigga. Laying low to play it cool now, nigga. Ass niggas on the team, I've been known to get the green ever since I was 2'5", nigga. Coop hanging out the roof, nah, nigga. Cause I ain't stunting on them. Put my whole team on so they ain't wantin'. When niggas doing bad, you know that they be hating on you. Get the hoping that you power, they be waiting on it. Bullshit, get bread from the envy. Best friends get to looking like enemies. When you got it in this bank account empty. Perfect recipe to brittle out of jealousy. Looking from a bird's eye view. Learn from everything I've been through. Told my baby girl, if you ain't spending life with the nigga, never let him put a dick up in you. Cause if a nigga wrong, I'ma check that shit. And when you paper long, never flex that shit. Told my son, when you getting money, never trick it to a bop and flip it over, then invest that shit. Give a lot of game, trying to bless my kids. Gotta keep it real, that's the best shit. Got hitters up in Philly, back in Texas. When I get up on the track, yeah, I wreck shit.
Always sip on my own. Don't need you all in my zone. Spend so much time alone while I'm riding trap on my chrome. Always sip on my own. Don't need you all in my zone. Spend so much time alone while I'm riding trap on my chrome.
Always sip on my own. Don't need you all in my zone. Spend so much time alone while I'm riding around with my cone. Pour and sip on my own. Don't need you all on my phone. Spend so much time alone while I ride around with my cone.
It's a war going on outside. You in the crib, but the boy outside. I get it on outside. From the dusk to the dawn outside. So when the morning outside, I'm catching wreck when they drawing outside. Cause it's a war outside. My sword drawn outside. This Excalibur, your platter be all outside. Cause it's a war outside. I get it on outside. You in the crib, but the boy outside. I get it on outside. That's a definite. Cannonball, wrecking shit. Excellent. Rhyme Barack and bombing like the president. I remain strong. King Kong with the prevalence. I show you exactly what we do. That's how I represent. Hardcore, heaven sent, chain on, hella bent, throwing all black when they spot me like the leopard print. Oh, I got the braids in, shades on, made men, cause we put in work to start the earth until they change in. Walk strong, talk heavy, hold my own. You rock solid when we bout to leave the sword, the stone, nigga. We warriors, hardcore, tracking the pride, to let the Hebrew speak, nigga. General eyes, and we talking super heavy, nigga. That's the surprise. With all scripture, street talk, word the captain the car, nigga. We blazing, ripping the mic with all facts, doing the knowledge to the max till we cracking the pavement. UPK out of 1West Harlem, nigga. We spring forward and they falling like it's autumn, nigga. Talking to all them niggas born in the mud. If you ain't feeling this, you call them plugged, and that's real. Oh, I get it, cat tie, war, they not of our kind. I get the order that is handle kind, not the one kind. Without a doubt in my mind, I'm finna stop and recline. Anybody that come against us, they should probably resign. It's a war going on outside, no man is safe from. I hate these niggas throwing shots, but can they take some? Christ says, sell out your garments to get a sword now. I'ma go and sell off these photos to get a full pound. Game sure ain't started the war, but I'ma end it, cause the spiritual war could turn carnal any minute. I remember riding back in the days, window was tinted, but Salaki, I'm done with that carnal shit, I repented. And they bomb-proof the booth every time I'm about to go win it. You ain't know this shit, I live for this truth, and I'ma defend it. And I get my second wind just as soon these niggas get winded. It's a war going on outside, I'm jumping in it. It's a war going on outside. You in the crib, but the boy outside. I get it on outside. From the dusk to the dawn outside. So when the morning outside, I'm catching wreck when they drawing outside. Cause it's a war outside. My sword drawn outside. This Excalibur, your platter be all outside. Cause it's a war outside. I get it on outside. You in the crib, but the boy outside. I get it on outside.
Nobody's safe, it's a war out here. If you pussy in the streets, you a whore out here. See me all suited up in my fallout.
Hey, Karata's out. I see Zaram said no sound on YouTube.
Sounds up soon.
Okay.
Let me just double check.
If y'all can hear, give me a 1 on YouTube. If
It's
y'all
working.
can hear, okay. The water. It's what?
Check.
If y'all can hear, oh, yep, I just heard that just now.
If you have any questions, please type them in the chat now.
Yeah.
Okay, since there's no questions in the chat, sir, I want to talk about the topic I would like to go in on the street. If that's to what you, sir.
Yes.
And I'm making you moderator right now. Okay, so back during the height of the whole COVID pandemic, right? You know, there was a lot of interactions with the police as usual, but this one specifically was an Asian cop that was basically assaulting and handling citizens, you know, poorly and not in the conduct of a police officer is supposed to. And he just pleaded he pleads guilty, and he knelt on a man's back on the Upper West Side in the train station, the 2 and the 3 line, the 2, 3, and the 1 line. So I wanted to know if we can go over any scriptures that talks about how disgusting, you know, these Asians are. When I say Asians, you know, East Indian, Chinese.
But when you say disgusting, though, I don't know what you mean. When you say disgusting, their habits,
everything, like anything, like if you know, like how they're not supposed to be ruling over us, how they're just a disgusting people. You know what I mean?
Right, but okay, saying like the disgusting people sounds a little bit emotional. Because what are you gonna be talking about when you say disgusting, like what they eat and stuff like
what
that?
they eat, how they act.
That. You can go into their nature. Like I would go into how they were born if you wanted to. Like in Genesis, I think it's 18, when Moab and Ammon both were born. Now, if you want to talk about their treatment of us, you can do Psalms, the 83rd chapter, which Moab is mentioned in there. You can also do Psalms. Go to Psalm 60 and 8.
Psalm 60 and 8.
Mm-hmm. Let me know when you get there.
Yes, sir.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, this is Psalms chapter 60, verse 8. It says, Moab is my washpot.
Mm-hmm.
Over Edom will I cast out my shoe. Philistia, triumph thou because of me.
So now when it says Moab is my washpot, meaning he's going to clean up his filth using Moab. You can use that scripture. You can go into the book of Judges around the 3rd chapter when we defeated the land of Moab. So you can read stuff like that. So when you're speaking about what Moab is doing, you mentioned Elam. I believe you mentioned the East Indians as well. All of these nations, you want to go into those scriptures where they eat us, so to speak. So like, that's why I mentioned Psalms, the 83rd chapter. If you go to, let me get another one. I think it's in Jeremiah. I want also, bear me 1 second. Could be Jeremiah 50 and 31.
And also, if you could also give scriptures of like for law enforcement. I know there's a few, like, you know, they hunt our steps.
Yeah, you want the mark of the beast is excellent. Whenever I do law enforcement, the mark of the beast is an excellent breakdown. When it says the mark in their head and in their hand, you know what the mark in their head is?
Constantly, the way they think, right?
The way they think, but give me a little more with the way they think.
Like them accepting so what I would say is how the way they think, meaning that they're better than us, they're over us, we're supposed to be
people that have the mark of the beast.
No, for the law enforcement.
No. What I'm trying to get you, so the law enforcement starts with them. So like I said, you said scriptures on law enforcement, right?
Constantly.
And I said I use the mark of the beast, right? And so I said, do you know what the mark in their head is? That's what I asked you. So I'm asking you, do you know what the mark in their head means?
The willingness to accept the philosophies of today.
That's how you're gonna explain it on the street? Because you say you want this for like the street. So let's say you're pulling out, they received the mark in their head, in their forehead, or in their hand. How are you gonna break it down on the street?
What I would first say is the idea of I would first say that the idea of them ruling over us and that them being better than us will be tied to that. So how they think they should be over
Who?
Anyone in law enforcement. And here I'm speaking about, Asians. How they think they should be ruling over us, how they think they're better than us, how they look down on us, and this coincides with how the other nations feel and think towards us.
Mm-hmm. And that's how you're gonna say it on the street.
No, I'm gonna expand upon it,
That's what I said, so if you're on the street, that's how you're gonna say it on the street. Like that's what scripture breakdown is. Scripture breakdown is you said you're gonna teach this on the street. And so you want to know, how do I teach this? So you on the street, you break it down, how law enforcement, how the cops lock us up, beat us, XYZ, and then you want scriptures for it. So now you're familiar with Lamentations 4 when it says they hunt our steps.
Correct.
Right? So then I said you could use the mark of the beast as an example. So if you're teaching about the mark of the beast, what knowledge are they putting in their forehead?
They're putting the philosophies of the world. Mm-hmm. They're putting they're using their pride. Mm-hmm. They are knowing that we're God's chosen people, that they can reign over us as long as they get us to commit sin.
Mm-hmm. And then what about in their hand? That's what you're gonna say is in their forehead. What about in their hand?
The hand is on how they act upon what's in their head.
So now you got that part down. So they take this information, and remember, these are law enforcement cops that come over here. Do they do this to everybody?
No.
So they don't do this to Africans, right? They don't do this to Chinese. They don't do this to Japanese. They specifically do it to us, right?
Correct.
Because they have accepted the mark of this particular beast. This particular beast hates us. That's why they in turn hate us. So that's how you want to explain it. So when you in America, a black person in America is always going to be victimized by every single nation on the face of the planet. So I will put Psalms the 83rd chapter to show how they are confederate against us. Because let's say if it wasn't the police in that faction that they was doing, do they take advantage of us economically? Chinese people.
Yeah, so.
The East Indians.
Yes.
The Arabs.
Yes.
Because they come into our neighborhoods and destroy it.
Correct.
So you want to line Psalms the 83rd chapter, Lamentations the 4th chapter. You could do the mark of the beast. You can also do Lamentations the 2nd chapter, Lamentations 2 and 15.
2 and 15.
Mm-hmm. And you can actually start at 13, but you want I would start at 14 and 15, because a lot of this is our fault. What I mean by a lot of this is our fault is we don't have to accept these atrocities that's committed against us, but the leadership that we have has led us to believe that our only salvation or our only redemption is if we join these other nations. So now read Lamentations 2 and 14.
Lamentations chapter 2, verse 14. Thy prophets have seen vain and foolish things for thee.
So now the prophets that we have, because they see vain and foolish things for us, that's why, keep reading.
And they have not discovered thine iniquity.
That's why we're in the condition that we're in. Like, you always want to show that part before we get to the next verse, right? Because if they would have discovered our iniquity, keep going.
To turn away thy captivity.
That's what we're supposed to do. Like in Israelite School of UPK, we're discovering our iniquity. So when we walk into that door, we're marked with everything that we're doing wrong so that we can turn away our captivity or our disobedience to the Most High. But the prophets that we have today do not do that. The prophets being your TD Jakes. You gotta include rappers. Now, biblically speaking, of course, they're not quote unquote spiritual, But that's who today's society looks to as leader. If a rapper gets out there, that white boy Eminem took a knee and they thought it was Colin Kaepernick all over again when he took a knee. Because we listened to rappers. Rappers had that phrase whenever they wanted to get you to vote. What was the slogan? Vote or die.
P. Diddy, right?
Yeah. And they don't know who to tell you who to vote for, who to not vote for. Even battle rappers. This battle rapper DNA had this thing about voting for Joe Biden. And people listen to that. So you got to include everybody that we look up to. And that shows you how low as a nation we've gotten. We've gotten so low as a nation that we go to entertainers. You know, entertainer, they would be the pauper in the kingdom. You know, the entertainers, the singers, the entertainers, they're the paupers of the king, meaning the only thing that they're there for is to entertain. But when the king wants his wisdom or his counsel, or when the people wanted to listen to somebody, they didn't go to the entertainer to get the wisdom. But today's time, now you have to include them because that's who we go to. That's just such a low state that we've been into. And that's why the Chinese and the Japanese, and that's why they could do every single thing to us, because it ain't real for black people unless a basketball player says it, a football player says it. A rapper says it, entertain. Now it's real. But when a man of God says it, we can't listen to him. You understand? Keep going.
But have seen for thee false burdens and causes of banishment.
When you go into that Asian thing, the most famous story you got to go through, especially if you're going to talk about this, what's the most recent Asian story you should talk about? Go ahead.
The most recent Asian? Biblical, you mean?
No. In today's time, give me the Asian story in New York.
Oh, beating women in the nail salons and the hair salons.
You talk about law enforcement?
Yes.
What's
this one right here?
No, not that one. Before that one, Akai Gurley's killer was an Asian police officer. And that Asian police officer comes over here because what did our leadership do in that scenario? You know, Akai Gurley's killer, that Asian cop, got found guilty. And it was a black attorney, district attorney, that made sure he didn't get no jail time. That's why. Keep reading. Read the next verse. I'm sorry. That's why when you read verse 14, when it says the prophets have seen vain things, even our people that are in a position to get justice for us, they subvert justice for us because they respect the Asians. Who don't they respect?
They don't respect us.
And who? Right.
Black, Hispanics, and Native Americans
don't respect us, and so they send us to them. Read the next verse.
Verse 15. All that pass by clap their hands at thee. They hiss and wag their head at the daughter of Jerusalem, saying, is this the city that men call the perfection of beauty, the joy of the whole earth? So
that's why they do what they do to us. Go to Zechariah 11:5, and then I'll take the next question. You got to make sure when you out there and you talking about them Asians, you make sure you charge the leadership of blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians as well.
Yes, sir.
Because the leaders of black people actually stood for black people. There's no way in the entire hell they would be able to do what they did to us without expecting the repercussion. Azahar?
As a sidebar, sir.
Okay.
When you get a chance, if you could please give us a recap on what is the flesh and blood of Christ.
Okay, Khan, I got you. We got a scripture and verse. Is that John the 6th chapter?
I was talking in general, sir.
Okay. You mean you say what is the flesh and blood? What do you mean by that?
You know, like when Christians talk about, eating the blood and flesh. They're eating the blood and flesh and all that.
Okay. So in when Christ was at the Last Supper, they call it in the Bible. Get that for me. Because he'll say, this is my body, this is my blood. That's what he'll say. You got Zechariah 11:5?
Yes, sir.
It's like Matthew's 20 or 23, it's 24 or something like that when he says, this is my body. You got it out?
Yes, sir. Right here, sir. Zechariah 11, verse 5. Whose possessors slay them and hold themselves not guilty.
So they're never going to hold themselves guilty of what they do to us at all. Never. Keep going.
And they that sell them say, Blessed be the Lord.
Blessed be who?
Blessed be the Lord.
They that sell them say, blessed be the Lord. Go ahead.
For I am rich, and their own shepherds pity them not.
That's why you charge them for that. The men that are in charge of the flock don't pity us, so we're not giving another nation any reason to pity us. So as you going into, you want to say something?
No, I'm gonna ask a question.
Okay. So as you go into it, you charge the hell out of Moab and cops. It's good to bring out the history, especially in New York, the stop and frisk. You should go into the stop and frisk. How
Eric Adams just brought back.
Oh, he did?
Yeah, in this area too.
Why in this area? Because that's where we are.
Concert.
Listen, when you do the history on that stop and frisk, and if you do a class on it, you can pull a video of the black cops that was against stop and frisk and how they would say they never sent them to like Times Square area or neighborhood with white people. Is that only where Hispanics and black people were at, because that's who was specifically targeted for it. All right, so that's how I would deal with it.
Gotcha.
Shema Walla?
This is very, I always forget how to explain it. When the New Testament says that every man has his own wife and every wife has her own husband.
Oh, okay, that's First Corinthians. Come on, let's go to 1 Corinthians 7.
7 and 1, right?
Yeah, come on, definitely.
Yeah, let me see.
7 and 1.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead, read it, y'all.
We're gonna go
Yes,
from
sir.
1 Corinthians 7 and 1 and 2. Those are two verses we're gonna read.
Concert.
Mm-hmm.
1 Corinthians chapter 7, verse 1.
Mm-hmm.
Now concerning the things whereof ye wrote unto me.
So now what does that tell you? He says, concerning the things you wrote of unto me. So he's about to address what he was informed of
Concert.
about Corinth. Keep going.
It is good for a man not to touch a woman.
So based on what I'm reading and what y'all just said to me, it's good that a man should never touch a woman based on what y'all wrote to me. You got to put yourself in that mind state. Imagine hearing something happening in a city so horrible. He say, man, y'all shouldn't even deal with no women out there. That's how he starts it, Quara. And for those if y'all in the back, if y'all could come fill up the seats in the front, be appreciated.
It's like back in the days,
Mm-hmm.
it was somebody that gave a bunch of women up in Mount Vernon HIV, and so it's similar to like, yo, nah, like you wouldn't mess with no chicks in that area because of them.
Yeah, that's a horror story right there.
Mm-hmm.
So now it is good for a man not to touch a woman. In Quara's case, it would be good for a woman not to sleep with a man, right? So that's the subject that it's talking about, Shema Walla. Read verse 2.
Yes, sir. Nevertheless, to avoid fornication, let every man have his own wife, and let every woman have her own husband.
So now, read that again.
Nevertheless, to avoid fornication, let every man have his own wife.
So Shema Walla, is this talk about multiple wives or is this talk about fornication? That's what it's talking about. The subject is not multiple wives. So he's saying to avoid fornication, let every man have his own wife and every woman her own husband. Now, the reason why he's saying that, go to 1 Corinthians 5 and 1. This is why he's saying it.
Come on, sir. First Corinthians chapter 5, verse 1. It is reported commonly that there is fornication among you. And such
what?
Fornication among you.
So now you see the same fornication he's talking about in 1 Corinthians 7. That's what he's talking about here. It is reported commonly that there is fornication. And why? What does it mean when it says it's reported commonly? All the time. Meaning they fornicating up in Corinthians and it's so common, it's normal. Like when you hear about it, it's not the shock and awe that it should be. Like if you hear somebody sleeping with another man's woman, especially if you're an Israelite, it should make you want to pull your hair out like Nehemiah, because you know what we lost. Like when we think about Christ and us being in this New Testament, New Covenant, having this redemption, it's to recover from all the sins that we committed. And you know, Hebrews 10 and 27 says we should be looking of how much sore punishment. We should be looking for that indignation for any transgression we commit. So for something to be common, it got to be something that disgusts you to where this shouldn't be common. Not in this day and age, not in this time, and then not in this day and age either. In this day and age, it shouldn't be common for sin to take place in your home, in your family, in the school, in anything. It should never be common. It should be something. Commander Jenny Hanna told this story one time when he was in the Bronx. There was some cat that molested a girl or a boy. I'm not sure if it was a girl or boy. You remember if it was a girl or boy, Kadaza?
I remember the story. I don't remember.
But I know he molested somebody in the projects. And because he molested that girl in that projects, the whole projects beat him up. The whole projects. Because it was something that wasn't common. And it shouldn't be common to be. It was so uncommon that they extracted their own form of justice. I believe he's in a wheelchair afterwards. Whereas in this case, it says it is reported commonly among you that there is fornication. So how do you avoid the fornication in 1 Corinthians in chapter 7? And now he got to command them. Every man, that's your wife, that's your wife. Basically, stop sleeping with another man's wife. Keep going.
Concert. And such fornication as is not so much as named among the Gentiles.
Meaning you exceeding what the Gentiles is not fornicating like you fornicating. That's how, and it was common. So that's why he's saying it's good for a man not to touch a woman. Because men can have such a sexual deviant lust inside of them that they can't control themselves. And they commit fornication. You understand?
Yes, sir.
No sweat. Next question.
Concert, I have some questions online.
I'll get a couple and then I'll come right to your flesh and blood right after that. All right, no sweat.
All right, the first question I have online, sir, is so if you can break down Acts chapter 28, verses 27 and 28.
You said Acts 28.
Concert. Acts chapter 28, verses 27 and 8.
Okay. Let's go to it.
Concert, I got it right here. Acts chapter 28, verse 27. For the heart of this people is waxed gross, and their ears are dull of hearing, and their eyes have they closed.
What's his question on this?
He just wants a breakdown, sir.
Okay. We start at verse 26.
Yes. Concert. Acts chapter 28, verse 6. Saying, go on to this people and say, hearing ye shall hear, and shall not understand, and seeing ye shall see, and not perceive. Verse 27.
Now, where's he getting this from? Who knows where he's getting this from?
I'm not understanding the question.
This quote, what he's saying, where's he getting this from? Yadazar.
When Christ said that it is given to you to know the mysteries of the kingdom.
That's Matthew, the 13th chapter. And Christ is quoting Isaiah. So it comes from Isaiah. Christ is quoting it in Matthew, the 13th chapter. And then Paul is echoing the same exact thing, right? So he wants to understand what it means by this, right, Ashar?
Yes.
No problem. Hazahar.
If I may, we just check in Isaiah. You say that's in Isaiah too? I never heard if you could when you get a chance if you could
Yeah, no problem. Let's keep going.
Concert, verse 27. For the heart of this people is waxed gross.
What does it mean when it says the heart of this people is waxed gross? Sure.
That their mind, the way they think, it has turned against what the Lord wanted.
Meaning, what's the gross part? People usually go okay.
Gross would be, disgusting.
Yeah. So when it's saying these hearts, the heart has waxed gross, meaning our mind is gross.
Yes, sir.
When you think about you coming to the truth, when you think about what we believe, and this goes back then, they were breaking every commandment back then. That's why in Acts you'll see stop eating food offered to idols. They wasn't honoring their mother and father. Like Christ said, they preach it. The only law they do keep is the same law pastors keep today, and that's your tithes. But like Yahweh Shai, go to Matthews 23 and 23. Hazahab, hold Isaiah 6 and 9. That's what you want to understand. They're quoting from.
You want me to go to Matthew?
Matthews 23 and 23.
Yes, sir.
This is how gross their mind has become. Yeah, you're not going to read that yet. I just want him to read Matthews 23 and 23.
Concert. Matthew chapter 23, verse 23. Woe unto you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites, for ye pay tithe of mint and anise and cumin, and have omitted the weightier matters of the law, judgment, mercy, and faith.
That's how our hearts wax gross. Our hearts ain't on the mind of the Lord. It's on the mind back then of the Greeks, of the Romans, of any other devious, Diana. When Paul was battling the merchants of Diana making those idols, he got into a big fight because what happened? Paul was against Diana. And why was the merchants mad at Paul for being against Diana? Sure.
The merchants were mad because they made their life's work off of making
their
these
whole
statues.
livelihood. So now you come up against the Virgin Mary. We hang her.
Right.
Every camp. You come up against the very people that make money off of the Virgin Mary. You can't have her hanging. Y'all ever pick her up? Y'all should pick her up one day. And then see how the people react because you got her hung like that. Because you're attacking their livelihood. That's how gross our minds have become. Go back to Acts.
Concert. Also, just so you know, Houston and Detroit have joined us as well.
Give Houston and Detroit a hand. Appreciate the brothers coming into the class. Of course, if y'all got a question or something y'all want to bring out, just let me know. Who got Acts 28 and now we're at 27 still?
Yes, sir. I got it right here. Acts chapter 28, verse 27. For the heart of this people is waxed gross, and their ears are dull of hearing.
Meaning they're not going to hear you. Listen, I mean, when I came into the truth, I go to my boy house. This is my best friend. I had two best friends at the time. And I go, I call my boy. He telling me I'm in the cult and all this or whatever. And it's around Christmas time. And he was like, I bet you won't come to my mama house and talk about that Christmas stuff. I said, I sure will. So I go to his mama house because I knew him. So we all there with the uncles and the brothers, and we talking. And I read Jeremiah the 10th chapter. And before I read, and here's the heavy part, before I read Jeremiah the 10th chapter, they said, oh yeah, we know that's in there. Before I read Jeremiah 10. And so when I read about the whole Christmas tree, they agree with it. And then it was like quiet for like maybe 6 seconds. And then they said, so what time are we linking up tomorrow to put this tree up? That's dull of hearing. You can hear it and you can know it's true, but you don't act on it. And that's what we have become. We have become a people that hear, but hear not. The hearing requires an action. And that's what we are. Keep going.
Lest they should see with their eyes and hear with their ears and understand with their heart and should be converted. And
you know what's heavy about that? It says, lest, now, and here he's quoting Christ when he says, lest they should see and hear with their eyes. Hazahab. Now, what does that say about Yahweh Shai and how he taught?
That he didn't want everybody to understand.
He did not. Yahweh Shai did not. I know they like to think. I know they like to think that Christ came for everybody, which he did. But he didn't come in the fashion that Christians will have you. Here's a Christian will have you believe that all you got to do is accept Jesus as your Lord and Savior, and then that's it. But that's not how Christ spoke. Christ spoke in parables on purpose, because if you can understand the parable, then you might be worthy of seeing and hearing. And if you can see and hear, he'll heal you. You'll be redeemed. But if you can't see, if you can't heal, you're not worth his time. You even find that with the disciples. Did he not get angry at the disciples? He said, how long must I suffer you? Because he got angry at the disciples as well. So this is not something that for everybody. It's not easy to get. The truth And that's going to go into my topic when I go into the endurance part. The truth ain't for everybody. I'm talking about Israel. It's not. How's that?
What you said right there, it could be compared to like a doctor.
Like a who?
Like a doctor. Like in a war zone.
Mm-hmm.
You have people on the beds, and then the doctor will come through and be like, yeah, he can be saved. Put him over here, but he's over here. He's gone.
God.
Put him in this corner over here.
God. Yeah, it's like that. And that's the truth, because in order to love the Most High, you have to suffer in order to love the Most High, because love is not something that you receive. Love is something that you give. It requires you to do something regardless of what you get back in return. Yahushua is the greatest example. What love did Yahushua get back? Just somebody tell me that. What love did he get back? From Israel, from when he in Jerusalem, he doing all that. What love he get back? Everybody quiet. Y'all all thinking like, damn.
Please say that again, sir.
What love did Yahushua receive back? Paradazah. What love did Yahushua receive back when he was in Jerusalem?
Salakia. So if I may, Yahushua, the love that he got back from his people was like pretty much like a vain love. Like what can he?
It wasn't love.
It wasn't love.
Yeah. Even when he gave the fish. Remember, he said they ain't coming for the fish. Excuse me, they ain't coming to receive the word. They coming for the fish. Yahushua never, but did Yahushua give love? And he suffered, even though he gave that love. And he gained from the Most High. Like, that's what the truth is. The truth is not about the love you get from your peers. It's not what the truth is about. The truth is about making sure you serve the Most High. And that serving the Most High is suffering like he suffers with us. They ain't a greater sufferer than Yahushua. Well, the Most High first, Yahushua second. They suffer. You see the children of Israel? Go on YouTube. Listen, I go on TikTok. I made a TikTok video. Every time I go on TikTok, there's some girl dancing. Always a girl dancing. You got to scroll 10, unless you type in the search Ukraine or something like that. When you go on TikTok, all 12 tribes dancing. That's all they doing. Or some Jake in the world rapping, maybe shooting a gun or something like that. We're a disgusting people. And the Lord suffers us. So when you come into the truth, you have to suffer. You have to suffer your travel. You have to suffer a brother that may not get it right away. You got to work with him. You got to walk with that brother. A sister that may not get it right away. You got to work with her. You got to walk with her. You have to suffer. As Christ was on the cross at the greatest suffering, what did he tell? What did he say? Shema, forgive them. You know what that is? I mean, he up there, dying. And he still suffered and loved at the same time. Suffered in the sense where he said, forgive them, Father, for they know not what they do. That's the truth. And he got the crown over it, the water. All right. Any more on that verse that he wanted?
Concert. And should be converted, and I should heal them. And
that's
then
when you'll get healed. Okay. And it was the 28. Next verse as well. Go ahead.
Yes, sir. Verse 28.
That scripture where it says, see through a glass darkly, right? Is that related to this?
No, well, no, that's charity. I think that's in the chapter about charity when it said we prophesy in part, and now we see through it darkly. That's if you don't have that charity.
Okay.
You see through it. We can pull it if you want to. If you find, I think it's Corinthians, might be 13th chapter, could be. Read the next verse.
Concert. Verse 28. Be it known, therefore, unto you that the salvation of God is set unto the Gentiles, and that they will hear it.
So now, Paul is quoting Isaiah and Yahushua. And so now we read in 28, it says, be it known, therefore, unto you that salvation is of God is sent unto the Gentiles, and that they will hear it. Means what? Sure.
Since the southern kingdom at this time mostly...
Don't use that term. Don't get caught up in that. Go ahead.
Yes, sir. If I can explain why I said it. Because predominantly it was Judah, Benjamin, and Levi that were there.
Right.
And the other Israelites, the so-called northern kingdom, weren't.
Okay, why wouldn't you
predominantly
say? So now that's true what you're saying, right? But why wouldn't you say Southern Kingdom here? Who knows? Why wouldn't you say Southern Kingdom right here? It's a simple answer. Yadazar. Is there two mics or just one mic?
There's two mics out there. Sir.
Yeah, it's two mics out there, right? And if so make sure you there you go, Corrado. Bring that to the front. Go ahead, Yadazar.
So if I may, because there were also Jews who were considered Gentiles as well. It wasn't
That's
just,
true too, but why wouldn't you say Southern Kingdom right here?
I want to say because it's not pertaining to any particular one.
That's true. That you're more onto it, more simpler. It doesn't say Southern Kingdom in here.
Okay.
It says, and when the Jews, and be it known therefore unto you that the salvation of God is sent unto the Gentiles. It doesn't say Southern Kingdom. So you don't want to get caught up in a Southern Kingdom, Northern Kingdom thing, because Anna, Northern Kingdom, was in Israel, in the land. So you don't want to do the predominant, because Jews that's in Corinthians, they would be the Gentiles that they're talking about. You understand? So you just want to stick right here, because once you say Southern Kingdom, if you was battling somebody on the street and you go to the Southern Kingdom, now you're going to have to waste time what the Southern Kingdom is, Northern Kingdom is. You want to stick right here where it says, be it known therefore unto you that the salvation of God is sent unto the Gentile, and just focus right there. Because now with salvation is of who?
The Gentiles.
Salvation is who is Christ sent to?
The Gentiles.
No, salvation is of Shemawa. The first question, you said the Jews the first time?
Because of the Jews,
right.
And
the lost sheep of the house of Israel. So now what you can break down is who the Gentiles is talking about, because that word Gentiles is there and correlated with salvation. So now your Matthews 1:21 comes into play. Luke, the first chapter, starting at like verse 63 or something, you just take that down. It kills the whole argument of anybody trying to make this be about non-Israelites. But in truth of this scripture, he's only speaking to Israel. How do you know he's only speaking to Israel? Ashar.
Because we when we go back to the chapter, that's who he's speaking to.
That's true too. But if we only had these three verses, he's quoting Isaiah and he's quoting Yahushua. Isaiah wasn't talking about non-Israelites, and neither was Yahushua. They was only talking about Israel. And so Paul is repeating the same thing. So when your brother that asked the question, your focus is on the salvation, just show who salvation is for. There's not one scripture that says salvation is for anybody except Israel. Romans 10:1, Romans 11:26, Matthew 1:21, Matthew 15:24, Matthew 10:5-6, all throughout the Bible. So if that's what his question, that's what the answer is.
Awesome.
Isaiah, you got the Isaiah 6 one? Go ahead, read that real fast.
Isaiah 6:9.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, go and tell his
744.
Go ahead.
Isaiah 6:9. And he said, go and tell his people, hear ye indeed, but understand not, and see ye indeed, but perceive.
Keep going.
But perceive not. Verse 10. Make the heart of this people fat, and make their ears heavy, and shut their eyes, lest they see with their eyes and hear with their ears and understand with their heart and convert and be healed.
So now I see, so now you see where Christ got this quote from, as well as Paul got this quote from. This is from Isaiah. All right. Next question. Oh, Salaka, Hazahab, your question about the flesh and blood.
That's in Matthew 26 and hold on, I think it's 26 and 12, so 26 and 26, lucky. Matthew 26. And as they were eating, Yahushua took bread and blessed it and brake it and gave it to the disciples and said, take, eat, this is my body. Verse 27, and he took the cup and gave thanks and gave it to them, saying, drink ye all of it. For verse 28, for this is my blood of the New Testament, which is shed for many of the remissions of sin. Verse 29, but I say,
read that again.
Verse 28, for this is my blood of the New Testament.
And you had what? Matthew's what?
This is Matthew 26 and 28, sir.
So now, your question was, where do Christians get the whole flesh and blood from, right? So it says, and they was eating, Yahushua took bread, blessed it, and break it, and gave it to the disciples. Keep going.
Verse 29, sir.
Mm-hmm. No, read 26, 28 again, Salaki.
Verse 28. For this is my blood of the New Testament.
So every first Sunday, you know what they have on first Sunday? The driest crackers on the planet. Like, they don't even honor Christ in that. Don't you think if the bread is supposed to be Christ's blood, wouldn't you have the best body, rather? Wouldn't you have the best bread? I mean, you should have showbread. Like David and them had showbread. You know why it was called showbread? It was just for show. It wasn't for eating. You would think they would have the fluffiest, softest, nicest bread for you to eat. They got the driest set of crackers on the planet for them to eat. And it says, this is my body. Keep going. I'm blood. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
For this is my blood of the New Testament,
Mm-hmm.
which is shed for many of the remissions of sins. Verse 29. But I say unto you, I will not drink henceforth of this fruit of the vine.
So now, what is your question again? Repeat it for the room.
It was what is the flesh and the blood, sir?
Okay, so what is the flesh and the blood? Who knows the answer to this? You want the truth of the flesh and the blood, right? No problem. Go to John, the 6th chapter. Ashar, you wanted to raise your hand up? Go ahead, Ashar.
Counselor, wouldn't the flesh be being able to sacrifice and walk in the way of Yahushua?
I wouldn't put sacrifice in there, but to walk in the way of Christ. That's the real flesh and blood, is to understand what Christ spoke, what he said, what he meant, what he did, and then you to do right after, just like him.
Counselor.
That's how you have Christ in you. That's what the flesh and blood actually is. So go to John 6 and start at 31.
Yes, sir.
Mm-hmm.
John 6 and 31. Our fathers did eat manna in the desert, as it is written, he gave them bread from heaven to eat. Verse 32. Then Yahushua said unto them, verily, verily, I say unto you, Moses gave you not that bread from heaven, for my Father giveth you the true bread from heaven.
Go ahead.
Verse 33. For the bread of the Most High is he which cometh down from heaven, and giveth life unto the world. Verse 34, sir. So then said they unto him, Lord.
So now when he says the bread of God, which is he coming down from heaven and giveth life unto the world, who's that? How's it how?
What do you mean, who's that?
Read 33 again.
For the bread of the Most High is which is he which cometh down from heaven.
Who's that?
That's the Most High, sir.
No.
The Spirit of the Most High.
No. Sure.
It's Yahushua, sir.
That's Yahushua. That's the he that cometh down from heaven. Remember you asking what's the bread and the blood, right? So now he's saying this is he. Keep going.
For the bread of the Most High is he which cometh down from heaven.
Right.
So okay, so Yahushua saying he's the bread.
Right.
That came down
he's
from
the
heaven.
bread that came. Just like, remember, so you got to get the analogy. When they was in the wilderness, when they didn't have no food, the Lord had manna, or the angels' food, come down from heaven. That's what the people ate. So now Christ is saying, I'm that bread that came down from heaven. And so what do you have to do? Eat the bread. Keep going. Go ahead.
Why is he saying he came down from heaven?
Where does anybody come from?
From the Most. I get that. I thought it was more of a thing, like, the bread, the manna actually came down from heaven, right? And
right. So that's what I'm saying. It's an analogy. So he didn't literally come. He came out of Mary's matrix.
Right.
You understand? So that's how he came in the flesh. But spiritually, he came down. What he's saying is he came down from heaven, just like the manna came down from heaven. It's a metaphor. If a prophet of God comes and speaks right now, where did he come from?
From the Most High, from heaven, sir.
Thank you.
I'll just mix it up because now Yahushua is actually going to come back from heaven now.
Right, but so don't go there.
Yeah.
Just stay right here with what he's referring to. It's a metaphor, if that helps you better, instead of analogy. It's a metaphor. Yadazar.
If I may, sir, to echo what you said, it's the same way as the bread, because just like he's not literally coming down from heaven, he's
Right, he's not
literally
literal
not
bread either.
a
So it's
bread
just,
either.
you understand? So it's just an analogy. You understand? All right, no sweat. Keep going, keep reading.
Verse 34.
Mm-hmm.
Then said they unto him, Lord, evermore give us this bread.
So now they want this bread. They want to get it, because they want to eat, because we're a literal people. We're going to find out in this chapter. We're a direct, literal only people. That's why we read that letter of the law. We read Deuteronomy, the 7th chapter, and we think, well, white people ain't on there. They good to go. Moabites ain't on there. They good to go. Them Hamo Ethiopians ain't on there. They good to go. That's a literal people. Prophets like Nehemiah, he read Deuteronomy, the 7th chapter, and that means don't sleep with nobody outside of your race.
Right.
That's why he said, did not Solomon sin by these things? There's only one nation in Deuteronomy, in 1 Kings 11:1. There's only one nation in that chapter that's in Deuteronomy, the 7th chapter. The Edomites ain't in Deuteronomy 7, the Moabites, the Egyptians, none of them in Deuteronomy 7. But the very next verse says, of the nations concerning which the Lord said, ye shall not sleep with. That's the spirit of the law. But when you're literal, they think, man, we about to eat this bread, tear this bread up. That's what they think. They're going to eat this bread and they're going to get life. Ashar.
Is that also similar to when Phineas had to put to death one of his brothers for being with the Midianitish woman?
Well, that's different because that's his carnality. He just carnally wanted to be with that. But on this, so you can use that
in terms of literal, because Midianite wasn't on that list either. Like you said, and Moab wasn't on that list either.
Yeah, you can say that.
Constant.
All right. So keep going, Hazahah.
Go on. Evermore give us this bread.
Mm-hmm.
Verse 35. And Yahweh shall said unto them, I am the bread of life.
So now he say, I am the bread. That's what he say. He said, I am the bread. Kadazai made an excellent post I saw today, and I never really paid attention to it. It made me want to read this whole book of John again. Kadazai said, when you read the book of John, damn near every chapter is Christ saying he's the only way to in the truth. He's the only way to the Most High. He's the only way to reach. That's what you say, right, Kadazai? So now, when you read this, he's saying, I am that bread, which is going to totally blow these people's mind. They're going to hear, he's going to say this, and because they're so carnal, he just said something to even though he said he that came down is the bread, even though he said that, they're not going to understand. Keep going, Hazahah.
Oh God, he that cometh to me shall never hunger, and he that believeth on me shall never thirst. Verse 36. But
what is the hunger and the thirst? Who knows what the hunger? He that cometh to me shall never hunger. He that believeth on me shall Hazahah.
He's never gonna want bread.
Oh, true. Meaning,
I don't know.
No sweat. No sweat, Yatazar. No sweat. You're crazy, yeah.
If I may, sir. When he's saying that he's the bread, he's basically saying that he is the way to life. So
what does he mean? Go ahead.
So the people eating the bread is the people following them. So what he means by you'll never hunger, that means you never gonna have need for anything in life, because you're gonna have the wisdom on how to maneuver any situation in life.
What were they hungry for at that time?
Knowledge and wisdom.
Thank you. That's what they did not have. That's what you're never gonna thirst for. Like Isaiah 33 and 6. Go to Isaiah 33 and 6. Real fast. You got to be quick. I know. Isaiah 33 and 6, and then we're gonna come right back here. Read that.
Isaiah 33 and 6. And wisdom and knowledge shall be the stability of thy times, and strength of salvation.
You notice it don't say money is the strength of your times.
Right.
Your guns, I love shooting guns. It don't say guns is the strength of your time. It say wisdom and knowledge shall be the stability of your times. The problem with us, you can go back to John. The problem with us is that we put wisdom and knowledge in everything except this book. It's the most disrespected, quote unquote, followed book on the face of the planet. But we don't go to this for real knowledge, because most of the wisdom and knowledge contained in this book forces you to stop doing whatever you love the most. Because whatever you love the most is sin. Whatever you love the most is lust or your pride or your own selfish gain. This forces you to be a brother. Like I was talking about earlier, this forces you to actually learn how to love. Nobody knew how to love before they followed Yahushua. Not one person. Everybody thought love was what you got in return, not what you gave out. So if you're not feeling loved, you ain't giving love. But it's actually the opposite. And the truth, you give regardless of whether you receive in return. That's the truth. There's no guarantee when we go out and teach that someone's going to hear and listen. You're more likely to get an argument at camp. You're more likely to have to fight. Say, back up at Times Square. This nut. We got to say, back up to the nut. Came with that, I don't know what that white person had. Bruises like on his leg or something like that. So a mentally challenged brother will come in front of you as you trying to give him love to not give you love. Now, did we keep teaching? Yeah. Even though we're not accepted. That's what love is. Not a guarantee that the feeling you want to get back is what you're going to get back. Right. That's what it is. So when you come in here, now go back to where you was at.
Concern.
In John 6, I think Hazahab was reading. I want Hazahab to finish reading.
Go
ahead.
Verse 35.
Mm-hmm.
And Yahushua said unto them, I am the bread of life.
Mm-hmm.
He that cometh to me shall never hunger.
Mm-hmm.
And he that believeth on me shall never thirst.
So now that hunger and that thirst is talking about what they was lacking at that time, which in a simplistic form is the law, statutes, and commandments. In a spiritual form is how to actually keep it, because no one knew how to keep it until Yahushua came. Keep going.
Go, verse 36.
Mm-hmm.
But I said unto you that ye also have seen me and believe not. 37.
Mm-hmm.
All that the Father giveth me shall come to me, and him that cometh to me I will in no wise cast out.
Now, for time's sake, in that same chapter, go to verse 43.
Go on. 43. Yahushua therefore answered and said unto them, murmur not among yourselves. 44. No man can come to me except the Father which have sent me draw him.
Mm-hmm.
And I will raise him up at the last day. 45. It is written in the prophets, and they shall be all taught of the Most High. Every man therefore that have heard and have learned of the Father cometh unto me.
That's right. Now go to verse 49.
Go on. 49. Your fathers did eat manna in the wilderness and are dead. 50. This is the bread which cometh down from heaven, that a man may eat thereof and not die.
And not what?
And not die.
And not die. Meaning we would live. This is a good scripture to show when this clearly says not die, the water. But we die, right? So what does it mean when it says eat thereof and not die? It's very simple. How's that?
They eat, so they live, and because you live, the Most High save you from death.
But you will die though, right?
You will die, but not in the time when it's for the Lord to put judgment on
that. That's one part of it. And then what's the other part of that? Shemawala?
We won't die, man. Like in Psalm 8:26.
Right, we won't die. And that's what Hazahab is saying that too. Like we won't die in that fashion. But what also will happen? Y'all see these little kids in here? How are they going to get raised?
And taught by the Lord.
So they won't die either.
Yes, sir.
Why won't they die? Because we'll be able to pass down our tradition, which is the wisdom, stability, or to be on topic. The bread and the blood or the body of Christ will now get passed down to our kids, to their kids, to their kids. So whereas we die at 21, we don't die at 21. We in prison for 25 years. We ain't in prison for 25 years. We getting high blood pressure, diabetes, cancer, AIDS, all of the diseases that plague us for violating that wisdom and stability. Now we don't get it. That's what he's saying. The man shall eat thereof and not die. You understand? Keep going. Go to verse 51.
John 6:51. I am the living bread which came down from heaven. If any man eat of this bread, he shall live forever. And the bread that I will give is my flesh, which I will give for the life of the world.
He said, the bread that I give is my flesh. Now, this is twofold. He's talking about walking like him, but he's also talking about his death. Like his flesh, he's the sacrifice for us to even be able to communicate with the Most High. But now you communicate with the Most High by talking and walking like Yahushua. Yahushua didn't break the commandments, so we don't break the commandments. Yahushua was about his people, so we are about our people. Yahushua loved unconditionally, so we love unconditionally. You understand? Now, they didn't understand that. You know, he lost all his disciples, except the 12. In this chapter, read the next verse.
Verse 52. The Jews, therefore, strove amongst themselves, saying, how can this man give us his flesh to eat? 53. Then Yahushua said unto them, verily, 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 I say unto you, except ye eat the flesh of the Son of Man, and drink his blood, you have no life in you.
So this is like that flesh and blood. This is why they have the communion. So for the Christians, they believe this communion is them eating. First of all, it ain't even Christ's blood. It's grape juice, Concord grape juice. And it's crackers. It's not even they're doing it metaphorically. It's just the wrong metaphor because they're carnal. So in a carnal mind, you think, well, we just gonna get some wine. Well, the kids might want to drink it too. So let's just get grape juice. We're just gonna get some grape juice and we're gonna get some crackers and we're gonna eat. And this is gonna be our symbolic because we're ritualistic. Like you may not realize, but we're ritualistic people. If somebody told you to just pray and believe in the Most High, and He gonna help you in your situation, or somebody tells you if you put this stone under your bed, under your pillow, and sleep on it, He gonna deliver you out. 90% of people gonna put that stone under their pillow. 90. The other 10%, they just gonna trust in the Most High because we're a ritualistic type of people. We believe in the stones and the star and the sun and the moon and knock 3 times. You give somebody that practice, oh, they'll follow that practice. But to believe in an invisible God seriously is something that's very hard to do. It's very hard. When I had that battle with that Muslim and I brought up the Kaaba stone, how they circle it. Do y'all remember what he said? He said, you have to give black people rituals. That's what he said. You have to give them rituals for them to circle around something so that they can feel good. The Lord don't care about your feeling. He cares about your giving. You understand? So that's where they get the whole flesh and blood crap from, but that's not what it's talking about. You need to read more, you good. All right, no sweat. No sweat. Any other questions online?
Yes, sir.
Give me a couple.
Counselor, I have this question from I believe it's a brother. He said, Shalom, Cap. Can I get a general breakdown on Revelation chapter 22, verses 1 through 5?
Okay. Let's go there.
Counselor, Revelation chapter 22, verses 1 through 5. All right, here we go. And he showed me a pure river of water of life, clear as clear as crystal, proceeding out of the throne of God and of the Lamb. Verse 2. In the midst of the street of it, and on either side of the river.
So what are we seeing in verse 1? We're seeing river of life, or water clear as crystal, proceeding from the throne of God, right? That's the metaphor. You gonna say something, Sean?
I was gonna answer the question.
Okay, no sweat. Keep going.
Verse 2. In the midst of the street of it,
Mm-hmm.
and on either side of the river,
Mm-hmm.
was there the tree of life,
Mm-hmm.
which bare 12 manner of fruits, and yield her fruit every month.
Mm-hmm.
And the leaves of the tree were for the healing of the nations.
And the leaves of the tree was for the healing of the nations. Who knows what this is talking about? Ashar?
This is talking about one, the 12 tribes of Israel,
Mm-hmm.
and two, that they will be correcting everything on earth. From the Asians will no more be eating rats, cats, and dogs.
Well,
They
that's
won't-
true. They
you know,
won't be eating none of that. But who knows what this is talking about? You partly on it. But who knows what this is talking about?
Which part, sir?
When it said the verse 2, in the midst of the street of it, on either side of the river, there was a tree of life which bare 12 manner of fruits and yielded a fruit every month, and the leaves of the tree were for the healing of the nations. Yadazar?
If I may, so it's talking about what our people vainly worship today, which are the constellation that the Most High have placed in the heavens for a specific purpose.
Are they going to vainly worship it now?
Nah, sir. It will be used as Adam used it.
That's what you
as
want.
opposed to the worship.
Right. So like there's a difference between, I always get these two things wrong, astrology and astronomy. Astronomy, is that the star? Which one is the star crap?
Astrology.
Astrology is where they think the star is going to help them get a man.
Yes.
Maybe that book they wrote on how to, how you get a man. I got a book. It's called Shh for Love. Every page of the book. It's a 500-page book. So you sisters want to get a man, you read it. Shh for love. But I want to
Page 3.
For love. You don't need the stars to help you get a man. The zip on them. No, let me stop. So, but no, Adam's communication with the Most High was through the stars. That's like the stars have a purpose. The sun has a purpose. The moon has a purpose. It tell you they're for signs and seasons, X, Y, Z. So that's how you get your instructions. What to eat, what not to eat. That was Adam's communication. So this is a retelling of the communication that we'll have with the Most High. All right. You give me next question.
I'm gonna make that into a book, sir. And I'm gonna credit you.
I got that from a comedian actually, but shh for love. I'm gonna make an oil, call it shh. I wish I'd have known that name. I just put 2 O's out. Next question.
Answer. Any of the schools have a question?
If they don't, that's
Delaware,
fine.
Houston?
Because as long as I got all the questions, I could teach my topic.
But I think Delaware might have a question.
Okay,
sir.
no sweat.
Salagia, Cap, you ain't getting off that easy.
My bad, brother. My bad. What's up, Bob? What y'all got?
Also, Matazapa, we can't hear you now. You went mute. We heard you a minute ago and then it went mute.
All right, we'll come back to them when they get the sound together. Nobody else had a question? So I'll start my topic. So my topic today, but I'll give when Delaware, when y'all get the sound right, just come right in. And so what I wanted to go over was endurance. So let's go to 2nd Ezra, the 7th chapter and the 6th verse.
Second chapter?
2nd Ezra, 7th chapter, 6th verse.
Yes, sir.
Mm-hmm.
Whenever you're ready.
You can read it whenever you're ready.
Concern. 2nd Ezra, chapter 7, verse 6. There is also another thing.
Mm-hmm.
A city is builded and set upon a broad field.
Right.
And is full of all good things.
Mm-hmm.
Verse 7. The entrance thereof is narrow and is set in a dangerous place to fall.
Right.
Like as if there were a fire on the right hand and on the left a deep water.
When you coming into this truth, I think everybody, like before you find the Lord, like when you go from like a Christian perspective, you think it's all like happy and fairy tales and stuff like that. That's the problem with us. We live in like a fantasy world, or we live in a utopia. But when you actually come into the truth, as we're going to go into the scriptures, your life is more in danger because it requires a lot of change from you. Like you think you helping the truth. You really not. The truth is helping you. Like the Lord don't really need you. You need the Most High.
Concert.
Period. Never listen. The Lord, Israel disobeyed as Moses was getting the commandments. The Lord does not have a problem starting over at all. That's why you have a flood. You start over. He told, listen, if Moses was puffed up, we'd be the Mosesites right now. We would be the 12 tribes of Moses right now. If he was puffed up, because the Lord is always willing. That's why Deuteronomy 32 and 39 says, I kill, I make alive, I wound, I heal. There is no God with me. So we need him. He doesn't need us. And when you come into this truth, as it's saying, you want to get to that city, but on one side, the entrance thereof first is narrow, which is a problem for us when it comes to endurance. Imagine going down the street and you can't move. It's so tight. You can't move to the left or the right. We like what's called freedom. We want freedom to do what we want to do, as opposed to being restricted, which is better. Except when it comes to you brothers with your wives. Y'all want to put that hedge around them. Don't go outside, give me your money, do X, Y, Z. But when it come to you listening, you know what, we all fall. It said wise man falls 7 times. You understand? So we have to be restricted. And that's what this is saying. The entrance to this city is dangerous. On one hand is fire, on another side is deep water. Keep going.
Yes, sir. Verse 8.
I'm going all the way to like 17, so you can kind of line them up. And I want to be a little faster.
Yes, sir. So I'll do this then, sir.
Come on.
Verse 8. And one only path between them both, even between the fire and the water, so small that there could but one man go there at once.
So even that one man go there at once mean you can't make it in the kingdom of somebody else's coattails. You're not going to make it into the kingdom off of General Yana, General Hyman, Yatazar. He out there building up Haiti. That picture was a real picture when you had that was you for real?
That wasn't me, sir. That was I saw that picture. It's like
yeah, you got the mic.
I saw the picture out of one, and when I look at the date, it was in 1994.
94. Okay, no sweat.
What happened? It triggered a memory because I remember in 94, I was about 8 years old, and the U.S. Army, they was on my block. And I came next door from buying my grandmother cigarettes. And when I came out the gate, it was an AK-47 on my head. Like I didn't know what was going on.
Good night.
And I remember it was all them devils in that
street. So now Yatazar got that glorious story, how he go from an AK to him to where he building up Haiti. You're not going to get into the kingdom off of Yatazar. You get into that kingdom on your own, on the work that you do. You cannot go before the Most High and say, well, I was in the school and I held posts and I did this and I did that. And I was there when this brother did this and this brother said that. But did you walk that narrow path? Did you fall to the left? Did you fall to the right? Did you endure as you're supposed to? That's why it says only one man can go at a time. Keep going.
Yes, sir. Verse 9. If this city now were given unto a man for an inheritance, if he never shall pass the danger set before it, how shall he receive this inheritance?
That's life. That's why I read that last part. If he shall never, I'll read it. If he never shall pass the danger set before it, how could you actually get it? You wouldn't even appreciate it if something, you ever get given something so easily, you don't appreciate that. Now imagine working for something, working to attain this job or this position or a rank or a lesson or an achievement, and you have to actually work for it. It means more when you earned it. You get to tell your story of how I had to survive this, I had to go this, I had to do this. It was just me. I don't know how I would do it. That's a better story than, no, I just walked in and it was given to me.
Slug it.
Go ahead,
Okay, y'all can hear it. It's okay, no sweat.
Yeah, I can hear you now. Go ahead with your question.
Hey, come on, sir. I wanted to know if you could give me this breakdown again. You was on Cross the Line Radio, and the breakdown you was giving was, I guess somebody asked you, how can you be mad at the white man for like killing black people and if it's a punishment from God?
Oh, Isaiah 47:6. Let's go there. Romans 9. Isaiah 47:6, Romans 9, Ezekiel 35. But let's go to Isaiah 47:6 first.
Come on, sir. 47, verse 6.
Now, without the Most High, how can you be angry at the white man for what he did? Very most simply, I gave you the answer within the question.
What has the white man done for us not to be angry at him?
That's true. But why can you be angry at the white man for what he did? I gave you the answer by asking the question. Because he did it.
He did.
Because he did it. I don't know no nation that gets their ass whipped and you love the nation that just whipped your ass, and nobody faults them for that. Yeah, I know only black people go through that. I just want y'all to know. No other race goes through, why do you hate these people for what they, and here's the heavy part, they're saying, why do you hate them because they enslaved you? That's essentially what they're saying. Nobody does that. But who has Isaiah 47:6?
I got it, sir. Isaiah chapter 47, verse 6. I was wroth with my people. I have polluted my inheritance and given them into thine hand. Thou didst show them no mercy.
So the only reason we went into any nation's hand, and when you teach it, because we have the same hatred for Hamites, Edomites, Moabites, Girgashites, any ite that's not an Israelite. We have that same enmity or hatred for them because of what they did to us. In this instance, we're talking about the so-called white man. So it says, thou didst show them no mercy, because out of all those nations, and even this applies in today's time, the so-called white man is the issue. He's more of the issue than the Arabs and the Hamites, more so because the Arabs and the Hamites are not as merciless on us as the so-called white man. You understand that? Like, we in America, we're still oppressed by these same people. It's never stopped. That's why it says, thou didst show them no mercy. If y'all know y'all going to speak, get the mic first before I call your name. It says, thou didst show them no mercy. Go to Romans 9. What verse you wanted in Romans 9, Katazai?
I know we start at 13.
And then go all the way down, right? I'm trying to do it quickly for time's sake. Go to Romans 9 and 13. What you was going to say?
Salakia, sir, if I may, we still have their names branded on us. We still carry our oppressor's name. So why shouldn't we be upset at him?
I don't understand it at all. Who got Romans 9 and 13?
I got it, sir. Romans chapter 9, verse 13. As it is written, Jacob have I loved, but Esau have I hated.
Go to Psalms 139.
Drop this.
That's all I want to know now.
Okay, counter.
Yeah, Psalms 139. So like what I'm trying to do, so I get to my topic with Patazah, you want Romans 9:13 till about verse 22. You want Psalms 139, 21 and 22. Read that, Aban.
So I just want to make a quick comment. You know, they say that what happened to us is God's judgment. I would say no sweat. What's happening in Ukraine right now is God's judgment. These
Definitely.
same people will say pray for Ukraine.
Yeah.
Pray for us.
Nobody. And listen, man, y'all know a lot of my brothers and sisters over here seeing them Hamites in the Ukraine, or maybe they could be us, getting victimized, and they still are saying pray for Ukraine. When the Ukrainians know exactly who their people are. Like, you can go over there and think we can go anywhere in the entire planet Earth and think we are assimilated with any nation. But when the truth comes down, when the war breaks out every nation is only going to deal with their own. That's the greatest thing y'all got to understand. If y'all want to take anything from Ukraine and Russia specifically, with how they was literally kicking off African people. They kicking off African people to favor their people because their people matter. The lesson you're supposed to get out of that is your people got to matter now. Your people has not so much like we ain't in that war. We ain't, our buildings ain't getting destroyed, not physically, but spiritually. There's nobody in America more destroyed than us. And we got to look at that and say, man, this is the time. Zephaniah 2:1 that brothers bring out damn near every week. Gather yourselves together, O nation, not desire. You're not even desired by yourself. We're not like we want to assimilate with everybody so much. We're not even desired amongst ourselves. And that's where we have to go if we're going to do this. All right. So I would do Psalms 139, 21, 22. Also, Matazapah, do Psalms 137, verse 7 on down. I will go with them. And I'm just giving them to you so I could just finish up this subject. But you want to do them, all right, Matazapah? And then I'm going to go back to the subject. So take me back to 2nd Esdras. Hazah.
You said Psalms 137 and what, sir?
Start at verse 7. Really, you could damn near read the whole chapter. You can read, because like when it says, read Psalms 137 and 1.
Go with God. Psalms 137 and 1. By the rivers of Babylon, there we sat down.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we wept when we remembered Zion.
That's what we're doing. Y'all ever see them in that church? Oh, they be crying. I mean, listen, I'm going to tell y'all something, man. Them sisters in that church get to singing, boy. You're going to get all them feeling. You're going to think you got the Holy Ghost. They be blowing. Salakia. And all their songs be about Zion. It be about when I die, hallelujah, by and by, I'll fly away. It's all about Zion. It's all about whether they going to heaven up there with God or to a land away from where they are right now. Keep going.
Go with God. Verse 2, we hanged our harps upon the willows in the midst thereof.
Mm-hmm. Keep going.
Verse 3, I guess this is where you will start, sir, right?
Yeah.
The main part. For there they that carried us away captive required of us a song.
And that's how merciless the so-called white man is. You're gonna take them captive, and they like. And when you say that, you ever see that movie, The 5 Heartbeats? Do y'all remember that scene where the 5 Heartbeat brothers, they driving in their car, they get pulled over by them white people? White people make them empty out the whole car. And in the middle of that, they see on the sign the 5 Heartbeats. And he said, y'all some singers? He said, why don't y'all sing like that? Is how he say it. And they sing, I got nothing but love for you, right? That's what they require of us. Now just think about when they're making them sing. They done tore everything out their car. They didn't commit no crime, no reason to get pulled over. And in that downtrodden state, they required a song. And in our most downtrodden state, what do? Rappers make songs. Hip hoppers make songs. R&B artists make songs. Everybody makes songs because the performance and that sense of feeling good makes you feel like you can go on. No other nation does that. When the towers fell, they did not sing a song out. They ain't sing nothing. They sang missiles.
Concert.
They start naming the missiles. Hellfire missiles, Hellcat missiles. You know what I mean? They did all of that because they wanted freedom. They didn't want to hear a song. Keep going.
Go. And they that wasted us required of us mirth,
Keep
saying,
going.
Sing us one of the songs of Zion.
Keep going.
Verse 4, how shall we sing the Lord's, the Most High song in a strange land?
This is why I don't care nothing about them gospel songs, Salaki. I don't want to hear none of them. Right. I can't sing a song of no damn glory in hell. And like David said, how are we going to sing the Lord's song in a strange land? Like, how you going to think, I'm about to compose this joint right here? That's why I like all you killer rappers. You know, I ain't really into, rapping ain't my thing. But I'd rather listen to y'all than listen to somebody sing and hug themselves. You ever say, you ever see them in church hugging themselves? You be a grown man hugging themselves. thinking about the Lord. That's H&H. Salaki.
Yeah.
Keep going. Keep going. Keep going.
If I forget thee, O Jerusalem, let not my right hand forget her cunning.
This is why we hate the so-called white man. It says, if I forget thee, O Jerusalem, you're not going to be able to remember Jerusalem and love the so-called white man at the same time. You're not. You're not going to be able to love black people. Oh, excuse me, forget or remember black people and love. You can't do both. You'll become schizophrenic. You can't love the rapist and the rapee. Can you imagine telling a woman that got raped, you love her, you honor her, you're going to help her, and then she see you holding hands with the man that raped her? Right. She's not going to believe you love her at all. Keep going.
Go on, sir. Verse 6. If I do not remember thee.
For time's sake, go to verse 7.
Go on. Verse 7. Remember, O Yahweh, the children of Edom in the day of Jerusalem, who said, raise it, even to the foundation thereof.
So now this is when Jerusalem fell, which was our fault again. And David is saying, remember, O Lord, the children of Edom, who said, raise it. That raise it, R-A-S-E, is talking about tear it down. Tear it down. Keep going.
Verse 8, O daughter of Babylon, who art to be destroyed.
Who art to be what?
Who art to be destroyed.
We just asking for the same thing our ancestors asked for.
Right.
They asked for Edom to be destroyed, so we asking for Edom to be destroyed.
That's right.
So that's what you want to use, Mataza Pop. Of course, if you keep reading, it says, happy shall be that take them little ones, dash them against the stone. You know how I know it's right to say that? I was in the courthouse when the damn prosecutors was reading that off, playing the video with Gabaria Allah from Camden, saying that to a white man, reading that scripture, and he say, I got a special pair of Timberlands I'm aware when I get to stomp you white babies' heads out and dash them into the stones, XYZ like that. And the courthouse said we was right to say it. Dead ass. Listen, when they played the video, I'm gonna keep it 100. When they played the video, I'm saying, I think Quadazar might have been next to me. I'm like, damn, what we gonna do with this one? Because the video rough as hell. Because you got Gabaria Allah, you got a naked white man in front of us, like he ain't had no shirt on, no shoes on. He in his natural state, no shirt on, no shoes on, and Gabar is like hammering them, and they playing this coming loud through the speakers and all of that. I'm like, God damn, what's gonna happen? And that judge said we have every right to say that. Every right, because it lines up with the scriptures. That's why when you speak in that camp, I'm gonna go right back to the subject. When you speak in that camp, don't speak your own words. Speak God's words. When he said what he said, as horrifying as it might be to an outsider, he's biblically sound.
Right.
When they asked Commander Jenny Hanna, do you hate white people? What did Commander Jenny Hanna say? How's it how?
I don't hate white people. The Lord hates white people.
Right. That's biblically sound.
Right.
You can't, because now what happens if you say I don't hate white people, God hates white people? What do you have to do? You have to go to the Bible and see if God hates white people. And if God hates white people and I hate what he hates, loves what he loves, don't get mad with me. Get mad at God. That's how you want to act. That's how you want to function when you're speaking. All right. Now let's go back to my subject. Let's go back to 2nd Ezra's.
Concert.
We was at
we were at verse 5. No, sir. We were at verse
9. So you're gonna go to 10.
Concert.
Yeah. After this, sir, I don't know if you can run over some of the gospel scriptures about Christian music gospel.
Okay, if we get time after this, I'll do that. Okay. You know, General Hyman broke this down a couple of weeks ago on to the scripture breakdown class. The whole music, how to use certain chords, everything on there.
I think I got deleted.
I think that's on 1West, I believe. I'll maybe check it out. All right, no sweat. All right, go ahead, read verse 10.
Yes, sir. 2nd Ezra chapter 7, verse 10. And I said, it is so, Lord. Then said he unto me, even so also is Israel's portion.
Even so also is what?
Israel's portion.
The only way we can get our portion is to endure in this truth. Keep going.
Yes, sir. Verse 11. Because for their sakes I made the world.
Because this was all like in the previous chapter in 2nd Ezra 6 and 9, it says, for Esau is the end of the world, Jacob is the beginning of him that followeth. And then in the very next verse, it says, the hand of man is betwixt the heel and the hand. Does anybody know what that means? Okay. If we need to read it, that's fine.
If I may, sir, the hand of man, meaning that the entire world sway between what happens between Esau and us.
Perfect. Give him a hand. That's exactly what he said is correct. When it says the hand of man, meaning if Esau is ruling, that's why you see white Jesus all across the planet, because Esau is ruling and everybody submit. Now, that don't mean that other nations don't have their own so-called belief system, but Esau is the dominant force because Esau is the end of the world. When Jacob's world begin, the only difference will be there won't be Buddha. There won't be none of those things because we'll weed all of that out. And the hand of man betwixt mean every last nation follows whatever Jacob is doing or whatever Esau is doing.
Could that be applied to their currency too? It's like India, they don't necessarily worship, white Jesus as a whole, but they still deal in American dollars.
Absolutely. And that's why I said, so they, even if they're not serving the God of Esau, they still following Esau.
Yes.
Whether it be currency, no matter what it is, Democrat, whatever it is. That's the whole reason the Ukrainians is like, well, they eat Edomites anyway. But the Ukraine, Russia mad that Ukraine's trying to get separated from them. And that's the issue. Because God forbid, listen, if the Ukrainians join that union, Russia is like, man, they're going to have garrisons aimed right at me. So now, when it says he made the world for our sakes, understanding that should make you want to endure. Like we should be willing to endure, especially like if you ain't born in this truth, you really should feel blessed like a mug that you even got this truth. I don't care if you was 18, 13, 25, 45, if you was not born in this truth, that means you was a F up. That means you was a F up your whole entire life until you came into the truth. And you did nothing to deserve it. Nothing. That's why when you don't get nothing back while you're in the truth, when you in the truth and you struggling and you fighting, but you in the truth, you serving the Lord, you should glory in that because you ain't even worth that. If you ever leave the truth, you never love the Most High, period. You can't, and nobody could tell me nothing. I don't care what reason you give. You can't tell me, well, he beat me, so I left the truth. Nobody cares. She left me, so I left the truth. Nobody cares. I lost my job for the truth. You should have lost your job for the truth. I know I did. I remember I used to tell General Hyman. General Hyman asked me one day about my slavery, and I got laid off like 2 days later, to where every time he asked me how the slavery was going, I said, Slugger, so I don't really want you to ask me about my slavery, because when you ask me, I always get laid off or something always happen with it. It was like a running joke. But I didn't need the truth over it. The truth is never going to do anything. When you complain about somebody doing something to you, that's them. That has nothing to do with the truth. And Christ said, if they hate you, remember they hated me first. So even being hated, going through persecution, losing a child, losing a wife, losing a husband, losing a job, Christ lost that and more and still said, forgive them, Father, for they know not what they do. So there is no reason that you're going to tell me or tell the Lord why you left the truth. It's not understandable. It don't compute at all. Keep reading, Ashar.
Concern. Verse 11. Because for their sakes I made the world, and when Adam transgressed my statutes, then
read that part again. Brothers don't like this part. Read that part again.
And when Adam transgressed my statutes, then was decreed that now is done.
Why is that important? If Adam never listened to Eve, we wouldn't have to go through that fire and that water.
Right. Sir.
Let that sink. And that's important. Because, we always like to talk about, because Timothy say Eve transgressed, which she did. But because Eve did that, did Adam have to do that? Not if he was a head. Adam was not a head. Adam was a B. Slocky. Say it like that. LeBron?
Would you say he was the first? Can you choose that or no?
A beta?
He was the first. Yeah, he was the first beta. Okay, I don't have to say the other B word I was thinking about, but Adam would be the first beta. He would be the first beta that if he was man enough, Eve would just be another woman in a long list of women of the 1,000 I found. Excuse me, out of 1,000 men, I found one. Adam would have been that one out of 1,000, and Eve would have just been that out of 1,000 I found none. But instead, Adam chose to listen to her, and look where we are. So your woman cannot be a reason or an excuse. And then he was so bitch made when he said, she gave it to me. He tried to pin it on her. That's sucker shit. You gonna blame it on your woman. Like that's sucker shit. Like when you go in there and say, well, she gave it to me and I did eat. You can't tell the Lord that. You can't tell the Lord, well, my daughter wanted something for Christmas, so I bought her something. You can't tell the Lord that. You can't say my husband wanted me to do this. When Ananias and his wife lied to Peter, remember Ananias died first. His wife didn't even know that he was dead. So she didn't have to lie like him. And if she wouldn't have lied, she'd be alive. And then it would just be Ananias lied. But she lied too, and she died. And here's how you know it. She didn't die as soon as she spoke to Peter, but Peter did ask her, how much did you sell it for? We sold it for 40, but they lied. They sold it for 80. I'm making up the numbers just to give an example. And then she died. Now imagine if she would have endured and not gave in to the temptation. That wide is why she listened to her husband, because to her, in her mind, telling them that we sold it for 40, but we gave it for 80, she felt like I could keep this 40 to myself. You cannot do that. Like Adam is the biggest reason we're in this condition, not Eve. Eve is expected. That's why in 1 Peter it calls her the weaker vessel. She's weak for a reason. She's simple. It look good, it smell good. She gone. That's why I make them oils for the sisters. They be gone off the oils for the sisters. Lock it. But when it comes to the stability or being logical, that's where man is supposed to listen and say, no, we're not going to do this. We're not going to do that. And this is important because as you go through this, Isaiah 4:1 says 7 women shall take hold of one man. You brothers need to understand, you simps are not going to get them 7 women. That's a lot. them women in that day, which that day existed in that day that Isaiah wrote it, by the way. It's not like some futuristic thing. It's consistent since Isaiah wrote it. But in that day, those women are not going to want to lay hold of a man that's weak. They're going to look at a man and they're going to look at a man of strength. If he's a man of the Lord, if he knows how to keep the commandments, if he knows how to follow them, that's what they're going to look to. And you can't be a man that your woman come and give you another God. You say, you know what? I was thinking that might be the route to go. Right. That's not endurance. That's the opposite of endurance. All right. Do I want you to keep going? Okay, so you're gonna stop here. Go to Ecclesiastes 12 and 13.
Constant.
Oh, you out? It's like it's on. Okay. Go to Ecclesiastes 12 and 13.
Constant.
Mm-hmm.
Ecclesiastes 12 and 13. Are we going to read more than past 13?
Let me get there with you. What's the verse above that say?
And further by these, my son, be admonished.
Start there.
Yes, sir. Okay. Ecclesiastes chapter 12, verse 13.
Mm-hmm. And start at verse 11.
Yes, sir. Ecclesiastes chapter 12, verse 11.
Mm-hmm.
The words of the wise are as golds and as nails.
Golds and nails. Keep going.
Fastened by the masters of assemblies, which are given from one shepherd.
That's right. So now, when it say mastered by master of assemblies, meaning these words of the wise are not put together by like the average carpenter or the average masonry or something like that. It's mastered by the master of assemblies, and given by one shepherd, not multiple shepherds. I know a lot of y'all want to learn from here. What did it say? Here a little, there a little. That's the that's, you know, in Isaiah 28, when they talk about the precepts, you know, there's two parts to that. One says precept must be upon precept, here a little, there a little. When you keep reading, it'll tell you how the precept made them fall. So you can think it's cool to go and listen to this one and listen to that one and listen to that one and listen to that one. I don't listen to no one but one. And that's better. And this here says given by one shepherd. It don't say given by multiple shepherds. I feel sorry for those that got to go listen to multiple shepherds. I just thank the Most High I don't. Salaki. How's you gonna say something?
So I got the definition of goad.
Go ahead.
A goad is a spiked stick used for driving cattle.
Okay.
Right. So it's a small thing that controls a big thing.
That's correct.
So one shepherd controls
all of it.
Our assembly.
Okay. Keep going.
Yes, sir. Verse 12. And further, by these, my son, be admonished of making many books, there is no end.
Be admonished of making many books, there is no end. You don't need nothing else but this Bible. That's Genesis to Revelations. For those that don't have the Apocrypha in it, the Apocrypha is included. You don't need nothing else outside of that. Now, when it says making of many books, there is no end, I get in battles all the time. So they're saying you can't read about math, but this ain't talking about math. You can't read about doctoring. This ain't talking about doctors. Your way of life can only come from this book. Everything you do, what you eat, how you practice, who you sleep with, who you date, it can only come from this book and this book alone. Yaltazar.
I have a precept out of one.
Okay.
This is the book of Baruch, chapter 4, verse 1. This is the book of the commandments of the Most High and the law that endureth forever. All they that keep it shall come to life.
Shall do what?
Come to life.
Were they dead?
Come out of one come.
True.
Not literally.
Thank you. That's the one I was looking for right there. So they're not dead in the sense that, you know, they walking around. Like we was all walking around. I came into the truth in 20. I look at when I got the UPK. So that's February 28th of 2010. That's when I came into the truth. So before then I was dead, but I was alive. So like when you're reading that, when it says all they that read it shall come to life, it's not saying like they coming out the womb, coming to life, but it's taking them out of the dust. Yeah, If
I may, sir, you have to be alive to read it.
Shalom. Got to be alive to read it. But now who's on point to class? What do you have to have?
Endurance.
That's true. But what else? You might not have been here in the beginning of the class. You have to have ears that hear and eyes that see. Like when the brothers brought out Acts 28 chapter and we went to Matthew 13 and Isaiah 6 and 9. You can, like Christians know that you ain't supposed to eat pork, but they tell you that's in the Old Testament. So they hear, but they don't hear. They're alive, but they're dead. So that precept you pulling is an excellent scripture to pull because all they that keep them shall come to life. Keep reading.
Yes, sir.
No, you are short slacky.
But such as leave it shall die.
But such as leave it
shall die.
Shall die. You leave this truth, you can expect death. And death is not literal. And that's the problem with black people being such a literal type of people. It's like your parents ever tell you not to sell drugs, you're going to go to jail, and then you go sell drugs, you don't go to jail that day. Your mama was a liar. Until that day you do go to jail and she says, see, I told you. But because it didn't happen instantly, and even that's in the scriptures. In Ecclesiastes, I think it's 8 and 11, when it says, because sentence against an evil act is not executed speedily. That's our problem. We think, like when the Lord told Adam, you shall surely die, I guarantee you whatever he learned real slow. And when he didn't literally die, he said, God is a liar. And that's how we think. You go from being in the truth to stepping, like tiptoeing back into the world. And because you're told if you lead this truth, you're going to die, and you don't really die, life is not that hard, you think it's okay to go back into the world until the Lord just waits. So you ever have a farm and you got sheep, you feeding them sheep some good grass. Why you feeding them the good grass? Because you want them to get nice and fat for the slaughter. And so the Lord is merciful. The Lord's so merciful, you make them first 2 or 3 mistakes, he waiting for you. Maybe he gonna get it together. He gonna get it together. That's the same patience men that are in charge of other men have, that same patience with brothers. They might make a mistake. Now, this ain't necessarily like an unlawful type of mistake, but this could just be like a young man, what we call in the school a young man mistake. And you be patient with them, especially a young brother. He ain't even get his trooper name. He come in and he make a little mistake, you let him slide. But then at some point, you make him accountable for the mistakes that he's making. And that's the Most High. He's going to make you accountable. But because it doesn't happen right away, we think, nah, I'm good. I remember, brother, my Hebrew Academy class, this brother thought it was better for him in the world than the truth. And the day he left the truth, the very next day, he got locked up for, I think it was like a 7-year warrant. Out the blue. Just out the blue. 7-year warrant. They came and locked him up the next day. That's what it means when you leave the truth. Keep going, Ashar.
Yes, sir. Mm-hmm. And further, by these, my son, be admonished. Of making many books, there is no end. And much study is a weariness of the flesh.
Much study. Yeah, you be wearied out, man. You studying this star, you studying this Hinduism, studying this and studying this. Nah, I hate when I got a debate, to be honest with you. You know what you be having to study the debate? Like I got a debate, Malik Zulu Shabazz, April 2nd. I hope all of y'all are in the building.
Yeah.
Say again? Yeah, that's a Saturday. The first Saturday in April. I'm debating Malik Zulu Shabazz. The subject is, do we trust Africa or not? Or do we trust the Bible or not? So now I would have preferred, like, if he would have said, can we trust Ghana or not, right? Or any country in Africa, because then all I got to do is focus on that country. Now I got to go study the 40, 50 countries in Africa to find out which country he talking about that we should trust. It's horrible. And when I do child molestation, when I did no homo, I thought Kadazai was going to leave my team. Because when we doing the research for no homo, and you got to look up all that stuff for H&H, I mean, goddamn, it's rough. I hate it, to be honest with you. I hate studying all that stuff. I'd rather just study this. But the suffering that our people have from believing in that, we have to do that. But it clearly says, making of many books, there is no end, and it's the weariness of flesh. So what should you do? You should leave it alone. Shouldn't study it. Shouldn't look it up. Because what might it do to you if you study Hinduism? Let's say you in the truth, and you say, man, I'm going to just read this. I'm going to just learn this real fast. What might happen to you? You get seduced by it. Because you start reading and the Hindu God might start saying something that touch your spirit. It might touch your soul. You might make you say, man, the Hindu God ain't that bad, man. I can understand why they worship the Hindu God. And the minute you go there, you on your way out the door. So why even bother with it? Keep reading.
Yes, sir. Verse 13. Let us hear the conclusion of the whole matter.
Mm-hmm.
Fear God and keep his commandments.
That's keep going.
Say it, please.
Keep reading.
For this is the whole duty of man.
It's your whole duty. It didn't say love God and keep the commandments. The scriptures say the fear of the Lord is the beginning of his love. That's in the Ecclesiasticus. It don't say the love of the Lord or smiling or cookies or that bread and butter they drink. That bread and oil they drink. It don't say none of that. It say the fear of the Lord. And this just said fear God and keep his commandments, for this is the whole duty of man. Let's go to James 1:12.
Come on, sir.
Yeah, we're gonna go down to 15.
Yes, sir.
Mm-hmm.
James chapter 1, verse 12. Blessed is the man that endureth temptation.
That do what?
Endureth temptation.
Because coming into the truth does not mean you ain't gonna be tempted. Them, if you was addicted to whores, them whores, they about to come through the woodworks. Especially if you're on that social media. Sisters love putting their breasts out. Now I say sisters by default, of course. I'm not talking about like a sister in the truth. I say sister as a general statement now, just being in the truth. So them sisters gonna have their breast out, they're gonna have their butt out because they think that's the only way they get attention. And here's the heavy part. Why do they believe that's the only way they get attention? A bun.
Because that's the only because they see other women do that.
That ain't it.
Attention.
They ain't got nothing to do with
men
it.
are giving them attention.
And they say again?
Because the men are giving them that attention. They do.
That's it. It ain't got nothing to do. They ain't doing it because other women are doing it. They doing it because men love whores. That's why they doing it. That's facts. Because how do I know? Because if you go on the page, not go on the page. Let's say if you're scrolling down your timeline, because now like Instagram, for example, people I don't even follow show up like entertainers, just like pop up, and they'll be naked or something like that, and that photo has 20,000 likes. All niggas, Shalaka. All niggas. We love whores. As I always say, black women will stop being whores when we stop loving her. Imagine if a sister put up a picture being naked. And when I'm saying naked, of course, not fully naked, but naked what we would consider naked. And she got 1 like. And then that sister that got a nice dress on, might read some scriptures. Imagine if she got 30,000 likes. You know what women will do?
Right.
They'll start wearing that goddamn dress. They'll wear that dress. They'll be modest. They'll talk a different way because there's not a woman on the planet Earth that don't want love from a man. But the love that we're showing them is whole love. That's the love we showing them. We showing them that whole love. So if we want to stop it, that's how you stop it. So read that again from the top.
Yes, sir. Verse 12. Salakia. James chapter 1, verse 12.
Mm-hmm.
Blessed is the man that endureth temptation, for when he is tried, he shall receive the crown of life.
He shall receive what?
The crown of life.
He shall receive. Now, when you endure it, you receive the crown. Yahushua is the blueprint for that. Yahushua received the greatest thing we could all amass to receive. He's going to run the planet Earth because he endured. He did not commit. He did not submit. Even when he said, if this cup pass me, nevertheless, let thy will be done. Even in your temptation, you got to say, Lord, let your will be done. Because now once you say, let your will be done, whatever happens, that's the Lord's will. That's not your will. That's why we don't swear in here. We say, Lord willing, we do this. Lord willing, we do that. Keep going.
Yes, sir. Which the Lord had promised to them that love him.
That do what?
The Lord had promised to them that love him.
You're going to love him. You're going to have to endure. You're going to have to endure hardship. You're going to have to endure the trial. You're going to have to endure your own lust, your own problems and fixes that you have to have if you love him. And it don't say if you receive love. It don't say that. It say if you love him, meaning that's something you have to put out, something you have to project without expecting anything in return. Keep going.
Yes, sir. Verse 13. Let no man say when he is tempted, I am tempted of God.
That's also important. You cannot blame your temptation on the Lord. Why the Lord put these people in front of me? Why the Lord put that man in front of me with his pecs out? He know what I like. Nah, that's not the Lord. Especially you, a married sister, man. You should avoid it. That's the temptation that you have, which we're going to read. When you get tempted, the temptation comes from your own internal desire. It does not come from the Lord. If you're a liar, it's because you love. If you fall to lies, it's because you love lies. The Lord didn't make you believe a lie. You know, if a lying spirit, like y'all know in Kings when it talks about that lying spirit, right? How did the Lord know that lying spirit would work? Yatazar.
Because he was a liar.
Because they was already liars. Ahab and them was already not keeping the commandments. They already love lies. So when the lying spirit say, I'm gonna deceive them, the Lord say, I know you will, because he knows their character. Now, as that lion spirit come, did the lion spirit grab him by the chain and force him to do it? What vessel were we supposed to be? Talk about Israel now, Ashar.
The vessel unto honor.
And Esau is supposed to be the vessel of dishonor, right?
Yes, sir.
Here's what I always find interesting from brothers and sisters or people that say the Lord, especially when they use the lion spirit part. You know, the Lord put a spirit on us to do righteous. Did we obey that spirit? So stop telling me a lion spirit has control over you. No spirit has control over you. You have control over yourself.
Right.
And you choose to listen to righteousness or to listen to wickedness. There is no such thing as, unless you read in the scriptures, like when the Lord specifically say, I hardened Pharaoh's heart. Outside of that, there is no spirit coming to you that is forcing you to do something. You have everything in your power to resist that. Right. Now, am I just talking Bible? I need a precept. And I'll be telling y'all, oh, go ahead, Hazahab. Go ahead, Hazahab.
We got 1 Corinthians 10 and
Okay, give Hazahab a hand. Give Hazahab a hand, because I didn't think nobody was gonna get that. Hazahab got it. Read that real fast. 1 Corinthians 10 and 13.
Go. 1 Corinthians 10 and 13. There is no temptation taken you,
Mm-hmm.
but such as is common to man.
Now, this is the answer when people try to say, well, that spirit got on him, he couldn't fight. No, you can fight every spirit. It says there is no temptation taken unto you, but such as common to man. That lion spirit that went to Ahab and them, that's a common spirit. It's not no magical fall down from heaven spirit. It's not that spirit. Lion spirit exists everywhere because we all believe lie. We thought Caesar Borgia that we step on when we come in this room. Everybody thought that nigga was Jesus. Everybody. We love lies. Even, listen, I remember thinking that was Jesus, and I'm reading Revelations 1 and 13 as a Christian. He got skin and bronze. You hear people say he was a black man, but we still think that's Jesus. I guarantee you, if y'all close your eyes right now and think of Yahweh Shah, I guarantee you Caesar Borgia pop up in your head. I guarantee you Caesar pop in your head right now. Because we believed lies. Keep reading, Hazar.
Go with Khan. But the Most High is faithful,
Mm-hmm.
who will not suffer you to be tempted above that you are able.
Even that's important to, like, if you're going to endure in this truth, right? To know that the Lord is not going to give you more than you are able. When you believe that you're hit with something more than you are able, what are you supposed to remember? Or what are you supposed to think about?
You're supposed to know that you can conquer that spirit.
Right, because the scripture just said it. Like reading the scriptures, meditating on scriptures, like Christ says, some things come through prayer and fasting. It's important to your daily life. That's your workout. Like, you know, when you go to the gym and you're trying to get to 315, you're going to start at 135. You're going to work your way up. The scriptures is the same. You might be weak in the beginning, but the more you study, the more you read, the more you fast, the more you pray, the more you do every single thing that's required, the stronger your spirit gets. So when the Lord say he's not going to suffer you more than you're able to be tempted, and you hit with something that you know this got to come from Satan himself, like Satan got to be standing or sitting right here hitting me with this scripture should come to your mind. And if the Lord is going to make a way for me out of this, I just got to find the answer to the problem. Instead of more times we focus on the problem instead of looking for the answer to the problem. And once you find the answer to the problem, you'll see that half the shit be simple as hell. It's a simple answer. The doing part, that's the hard part. But the answer is always simple. Keep going, Hazal.
Come. But will, with the temptation, also make a way to escape.
With what?
But will, with the temptation, also make a way to escape. That ye may be able to bear it.
It's that simple. That's life. Go back to James, Ashar.
Yes, sir.
Ashar, rather, Salaki.
Verse 13. Let no man say when he is tempted, I am tempted of God. For God cannot be tempted with evil, neither tempted he any man.
Keep going.
Verse 14. But every man is tempted.
Just don't say 95% of man. Just say every man is tempted. Go ahead.
When he is drawn away of his own lust and enticed.
That's your own lust, Doc. It's your own lust, sister. When you step out and do things contrary to your husband would have you do, contrary than what the priest would have you do, contrary to what the Lord will have you do, that's you being drawn away of your own lust. And you can't blame it on nobody but yourself, Ashar.
So how does one get lust? So you know what I'm saying? Like a child let's say a child being brought up in the truth, would that child naturally be born with certain lust, or that's something that child develops versus like someone in the world, or is it the same thing with the person in the world?
It's like anything. Take the child analogy, right? You know, you ever have a child sneak into the cookie jar, sneaking to do anything?
Concert.
Why are they sneaking?
Because you told them not to do it.
And so they have to be
sneaky.
That's true, but they have to, what do they have to be to stop sneaking?
What do they have to be
to stop sneaking?
Obedient.
Or taught.
Yes.
They have to be taught. So as they're sneaking, you have to train up a child in the order that he should go. Okay.
But before that, sir.
Before what?
Before
you
that,
say he's a child.
Yeah, before that even happens, right? How is that lust coming to that child? The child wants a cookie. The child knows the cookie tastes good. The mother says, the father says, no, you can't have a cookie right now. Why is the child not just like, you know what I mean?
Why do you say? Why does the child what?
Why is the child not just accepting that?
Why? Okay, why don't the child accept it?
But that's what I'm asking. Because
no, I'm asking the question back. Hoping you get it. Because what does the child? I don't want to say the word because then I'm gonna give it to you. Your question is, why is the child not listening? Right? Because what does the child want?
The cookie, the satisfaction.
And his want means more to him than what the parents say.
So then we're all born with lust already?
You don't want to look at it like we're all born with lust, Aman. You don't want. Okay.
I was going to say human beings are programmed for instant gratification because, one time what they say is, you correct me if I'm wrong, sir, but one time, you needed that to survive. Food wasn't as plentiful as it was today. So anytime you're able to satisfy your primal need immediately, whether it be through sex or getting high, stuff like that, people are naturally going to do it, which is why it's carnal. Like everyone's carnal.
That's the perfect word Abun just said. In your carnality, that cookie or that toy means everything to you, means so much to you. Although your parents say don't do it, your carnality is superseding the authority that you're under.
But doesn't the child have to be taught that as well?
Absolutely. Everything is taught. Without this Bible, we would be sleeping with whatever we want. Without this Bible, sleeping with a goat, why would anybody have an issue with sleeping with a goat? Why would that be wrong? Why would homosexuality be wrong without the Bible? Without the Bible, where's the culture that's against homosexuality that's not influenced by the Bible? Don't exist. Without the Bible, a man sees another man and he's attracted to that man and he sleeps with her. A woman sees another woman, he's attracted to that woman because that's his carnal, beastly state. That's why we're called what? What do we call?
Sheep.
Which is?
An animal. A beast of the field.
Thank you. That's what I want. I want what the Bible says. When it talks about the serpent, it says the serpent was more subtle than all the beasts of the field. Because without the Bible, we're animals. You understand? So we all have. You was gonna say something, Bun?
Can I say, sir, could we use the precept where it says the heart?
The heart is deceitful above all.
Wicked and,
Jeremiah 17:9. The heart is deceitful above all. Who could know it? But what I want you to understand, when it comes to mankind, just mankind, I'm not talking about Israel right now. When it comes to mankind, we're animalistic. That's what we are. And then the Lord put the breath of life into Adam and then gave him instructions onto how to live like what a man or what a human should live as. And then that was, don't sleep with this, don't do this, don't worship this, don't follow that. Without instructions, we're all animals. That child will be an animal without instructions. That child don't know. That's why a child cries. So that child, all that child knows is, I want this cookie, like Bun said, with the instant gratification. That's all the child knows. And then someone instructs them. That's why Yatazar read Baruch 4:1 when it says, they that keep the law shall do what? Come to life. So what are they doing prior to? They're dead. They're not alive. So we all have this animalistic pleasure inside of us. Yours may be different than mine. Shmawala's may be different than Yatazar's. But we all have animalistic pleasures or desires that we gave up to serve the Most High. You understand now? That's it. So it's literally, if you realize we're an animal or we're a beast or we're carnal, if the word animal bothers people, just understand you're carnal. And you know you're carnal because unless you came into the truth and there was nothing you had to repent from, you're carnal. But everybody came into the truth, whether it could be alcohol, it could be weed, it could be cocaine, it could be women, it could be drugs, it could be food, it could be anything that you OD'd on, that without the truth, you would be insanely in love with it. That's what that is. All right, then go back to James.
James chapter 15. So James chapter 1, verse 15.
Right.
Then when lust have conceived, it bringeth forth sin. And sin, when it is finished, bringing forth death.
That it is. When that lust is conceived, that conception happens because the thoughts don't go away because you came into the truth. You may be able to control it. It may not dominate you. So say if your lust was for whores. I'll try to use things all of y'all are doing right now. No. I'm just joking. But whores is something brothers can understand very easily, right? Say if your lust is for whores and you come into the truth, this ain't magic where all of a sudden a whore is ugly to you. If anything, she's more desirable because now you fighting. Go to Ecclesiasticus 2. This will be my last scripture portion. We're gonna do 2. I'm gonna try to, if I get to teach again next week, I'll finish this up. Ecclesiastes 2, we're gonna go from 1 to maybe 5. Like, this is your life. This is like, I think Kadazai uses this too. This is like if I'm bringing a brother or sister into the truth, this is usually where I go to. You too, right, Shala? Oh, I gave it to you? This is what I go to right here because everybody think, man, coming to the truth, it's like flip of a switch. You was a drug dealer. You ain't going to desire to sell drugs no more because you serving the Lord now. No, it don't work like that. You didn't become an excellent whore lover overnight. You know how you became an excellent whore lover? You searched them whores out. You went on back pages. You went on Facebook. You went on Instagram. You DM particular women, hoping that they would be whores too. And then the ones that wasn't whores, you stopped communicating with them. But let this one whore be the one you communicate with. And then you find, oh, okay, so I got her by doing this. You start training yourself on how to catch whores. I did this for, I did that for, I did this, I did this, I did this. Okay, now I know how to get them. So when you come into the truth, it's the same exact thing. How do I come into the truth? I go to class. If I got a question, I call a brother. I'm listening to classes. I record the classes. I study the classes. I meditate. I pray. I fast. The same way you became an excellent, whatever lustful bastard you was in the world, is the same way you come into the truth, through repetition, through practice. You ever had 5 basketball players go out on the court? Somebody's going to become the star. You know who's the star? You ask that basketball player like Kobe Bryant and the Michael Jordans and them how they became stars. They're going to tell you, I was shooting in the gym at 2 a.m. to 3 a.m. Or I would get up at 5 a.m, go down to the park. I would tape. If I'm right-handed, I'm left-handed. Real niggas left-handed slot. All the smart left-handed people slacking. So if I'm left-handed, I would tape my left hand to my leg and only dribble with my right so I can learn to do it with my right. Why? Because I want to be the best basketball player I could possibly be. I'm going to shoot free throws all day. I'm going to shoot from the three-point line all day because I want to be the best basketball player I want to be. When it comes to the truth, in order to be the best soldier for the Most High, you have to put the work in. Now, whatever you put in is what you're going to get back. So if you ain't getting back much, you ain't putting in much. Everybody understand? Read Ecclesiasticus 2.
Ecclesiasticus chapter 2, verse 1.
Mm-hmm.
My son, if thou come to serve the Lord, prepare thy soul for temptation.
That's important. How could you come into the truth and not expect to be tempted to get pushed out of the truth? It's going to happen. Satan, listen, Satan is in love with you. It's like when he own you, you know, it's all right. But the minute you break away, now it's like he got to call all his buddies, man, because we got to get him back. So now prepare your soul for that temptation. Keep going.
Concert. Verse 2. Set thy heart aright and constantly endure.
And do what?
Constantly endure.
It don't say for a short time, constantly endure. Because as you do this repetitiously, it doesn't mean that you're not enduring temptation. But because you doing and you got your routine down so much, the temptation doesn't bother you as much. But that temptation never goes away, Aquathium. It does not go away. You just have more control because you're doing something else. So because you're doing something else that's the opposite of your lust, the lust doesn't have the power over you that it normally has when you're not in the truth. So you will constantly endure. That's important because if you're in the truth for 2 years, you might say, well, I've been in the truth 2 years. Why am I still going through this? Because you ain't defeating the demon in you. If you're not defeating the demon in you, it'll make it even harder. I've been in it 5 years and I'm still struggling with this. Or it could be Paul went to the Lord 3 times and said, please take this thorn out of my side. And he called that thorn Satan to buffet him. And what did the Lord say? My grace is sufficient. Fight that shit, nigga. That's what he's saying, essentially. Fight it. You could have that. Because, again, as I stated earlier, none of us deserve this gift that we got from the Most High. None of us. So if the Lord got you battling that demon that's going to torment you for the rest of your life, you know what you're going to have to do? Box. MMA if you into that gay shit. MMA if you want to be an MMA fighter. Wrestle. Shoot him. Do whatever it takes. I'm trying. I got this shotgun that got Dragonfire rounds in it. I've not found the range that will let me shoot it yet. Me and Akai went to this range in Philadelphia. Slocky Quara. Me and Akai went to this range in Philadelphia. They would not let me shoot these Dragonfire rounds because they said it like shoot like real fire. But if you gotta fight that, whatever you got to do to fight that demon, fight it. But you're gonna have to constantly endure. Keep going.
Constant. And make not haste in time of trouble.
Don't run. Don't be a sucker. Don't be a coward. Don't be a punk. Don't be a sissy. Don't be soft. Gird up. Job 40:7 says, gird up thy loins like a man. Even for you sisters. And the story with the 7 brothers and the mother, it said that mother encouraged herself with a manly spirit. Encouraged herself. So even you sisters, when you come into the truth and somebody tormenting you, or they trying to say, especially for sisters that might have had a man, that man left them, or let's say if you got 2 kids or 3 kids, however many kids you may have, or how many husbands you have may had, and you come into the truth and somebody try to condemn you for that, F them. Don't let nobody torment, because that's what they try to do too. They try to bring up your old man. When your old man is gone, they get mad at me on that clubhouse when I say I'm perfect. I am. Anybody can be perfect. Psalms 37 chapter says, mark the perfect man. That's what it says. If you're not striving for perfection, what are you doing? What are you doing? Matthew 5:48, Christ said, be ye therefore perfect as your Father in heaven is perfect. If you're not perfect or striving to be perfect, you're not following what Christ said. Christ didn't say try to be perfect. That's what he said. He said be perfect. How do you be perfect? You constantly endure. Make not haste in the time of trouble. Keep going.
Verse 3, cleave unto him and depart not away, that thou mayest be increased at thy last end.
At the end, Christ got the kingdom. Before that, he endured betrayal. He endured heartache. He endured people not listening to him. And Christ is doing something. We ain't raised no dead people. We ain't made the blind see, not in the literal sense of having your eyes closed and then open them. We make the blind see like bringing people into the truth, but we have not done the miracles Christ did. And as Christ is doing those miracles, he's getting rejected. This nigga fed thousands of people with fish and bread. They still didn't believe. Walked on water. They still didn't believe. Still failed them. And he endured so that he could be increased at the end, because you're in this truth to serve the Lord, not yourself, not your wife, not your husband, not your daughter, not your job, not your son. You're in this truth to serve the Lord and the Lord only. That's who we serve. With that, I pass the class to Priest and Officer Shaw.
Man of Israel, Amadi is with man. Man of Israel, we're going to get one verse too. Man of Israel, ISUPK. Amadi, rock.
Yahweh Hashem Yahushua Barakam.
That sound which means hands down, soft face, Amadi, which means stand. Man of Israel, we're going to give one courtesy to the sisters. Man of Israel, ISUPK. Amadi, rock.
Yahweh Hashem Yahushua.
Sound, which means hands down, class dismissed.
After the bottom, everybody got 10 from here to official right now.
Hey, while